Hi, welcome to Winter with the Seasons Leadership Podcast, where we celebrate this time to go deep, transform your leadership journey. We will bring you actionable advice to improve your leadership and your life today.
Hi, I'm Susan.
And I'm Debbie.
And thank you for joining us. At Seasons Leadership, we share a vision to make excellent leadership the worldwide standard. Learn more at seasonsleadership.com. Welcome to Season 5 with the Seasons Leadership Podcast, and thank you for joining us. Debbie, can you believe Season 5?
No, it's crazy.
I know.
Gray.
I know. If somebody would have told us this back when we started this podcast adventure, I think I could not have believed it.
And those of you who didn't hear the story, we are such accidental podcasters to start with. We didn't start out wanting to have a podcast, and then we got into it sort of accidentally, but it was meant to be because we love it. We love doing it. And we really feel it's a good way to get information out there for all of our listeners about what we care about, which is leadership and leadership excellence.
Exactly. And we've met so many great people this way too.
Oh, it's been amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Let's just get started. Season 5, winter. We're going to talk about winter today.
Yeah, and here in the Northern Hemisphere, we are in the season of winter. I did a post on social media and I said, fall has finally arrived. This was just a few weeks ago. And someone said, fall, we're in winter already and where I live. And so it all, how you experience winter in nature differs depending on where you're located. How you experience metaphorical winter as a leader differs by a lot of different factors, like where you are, what you're doing, what you've already been through. But at Seasons Leadership, we like to use the seasons, cycles of nature as a metaphor for leadership and for life. So we're entering that winter. We're in that winter. And for us at Seasons, it's all about transformation. That's what's going on right now is transformation. And it can be ever so quiet when it's happening. And it can feel like nothing's happening.
Right. Which can be distressing for us. I mean, especially us in the United States, I think we celebrate activity and progress and that kind of energy. And the energy in winter is much different.
Absolutely. It can feel like no energy.
Right. Right.
It can feel like, I know for me personally, things slow down or they feel like they slow down in winter. And where I normally would be very energetic and driven and just get this thing done and really task oriented, in winter, I'm much more self-oriented, introspective, if you will.
Right. Right. It's I know I sleep a lot more. I'm in the northern hemisphere, and so it's dark here a lot. And I think that hibernation is something that I do. But I also think, I mean, it's what we need. We need to slow down at times in our lives and rest and allow ourselves to rejuvenate. And I think that's where transformation comes in.
Absolutely. Well, that's where you're allowing the energy you do have to be focused on creating that transformation. I mean, think of a tree. Tree may seem a weird metaphor here, but think of a tree, especially deciduous ones that lose their leaves during the fall, and it's so beautiful, all the colors. And then in winter, they're just a bunch of empty sticks sticking up there, right? And it looks like they're dead, but they're not. They're just hibernating, as you said. They're just allowing all their energy, what energy they do have, to be focused on transforming them for spring. And then when spring hits and the buds start coming out and then they get into full leaf again, it's an amazing transformation, right? So the transformation is happening now in winter while they're dormant.
Right.
And that's, some people may actually take it to an extreme and be dormant in the winter, but But I think for most of us, it's an effort to slow ourselves down and to say, it's okay that I'm not doing all the time right now,
Mhm.
that I'm just being.
It's very important. I think even if we're not consciously aware of what's happening inside of us, there is connections being made, and all the work that we've done in spring and fall and summer is accumulating, and we are being transformed. And by allowing the stillness to kind of do its magic, work on us, give us some space. It's amazing what that transformation can bring. And I've seen it in myself, and I've seen it in others, where if we don't honor the winter, the metaphorical winter, and honor that space, that's when we start to churn, and we don't really know what we're doing. We've got a lot of activity, but not making a lot of progress. Um, and so winter comes, and I think we can get through it by honoring it. If not, it just kind of drags through our life, right? And we eventually have to face it.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And so there's lots of different feelings you can feel when you're going through winter. And I think it's important to take a little side trip here and talk about metaphorical winter. You could be experiencing that at any part of your life through any season. You could be in, it could be summer where you are, but you could be experiencing winter with, let's say, your finances, or let's say your love life, or let's say your business work,
Mhm.
or all of it together. So there's lots of different cycles going on at the same time. So it's important, as you said, Susan, to pay attention to it,
Right.
to be introspective and go, okay, what's coming up for me right now? What am I feeling?
Mhm.
What am I thinking? What am I inclined to do or not inclined to do? And for some people, that could be like restless energy because they're
Right.
not used to sitting still like me.
Right.
Right. So it's like, I should be doing something. I should be doing this.
Yeah.
That word should is a clue for us to say,
Yes.
wait a minute. No, I shouldn't be.
No,
What do I need?
that's a great actionable advice. Is that is if we're saying I should be doing this or I should be doing that, that's a clue to take a pause and really think about what's really going on.
Yeah. And it's perfectly normal. Whatever feelings you're feeling are perfectly normal for you. Just
Mhm.
don't forget that. So don't try to compare yourself to other people. Well, that person looks like they're very energetic right now. Well, they may not be experiencing winter,
Mhm. Mhm.
even if it's winter outside your
That's
window,
right.
right? They
That's
may not
right.
be experiencing it. So only compare yourself to yourself and say, what am I feeling? What's coming up for me?
Mhm.
How do you generally get clues of that you're in winter, Susan?
I think it's the in between time. So how we in seasons leadership, what we think about is fall is when things are changing. So it's the fall is really the endings of things, and it's the deciding you're going to let something go. And so that can be, can feel okay, but it also can feel sad. But the winter is for me, it's the time in between the letting go and the finding what is new.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a little bit directionless, kind of in some
You
areas. I
feel
mean,
like you're floundering
yeah, I
or
don't really know what I want to do. Like if I'm thinking about uh like I didn't really have winter when I retired from Boeing. And I think the reason why is maybe it was a really quick winter, because as I was coming to that point, I mean, I was going through my career was really, I would say, probably in summer. I was going good, and I mean, I loved it. I was contributing. I had some great projects. But then on a personal note, my son-in-law got very ill and ended up passing away. So it changed my viewpoint about like how was I spending my life? And, I got another reinforcement that life is short and where we are spending our time and our energy should be very thoughtful and deliberate. And so I got to that point where, like, well, maybe I'd been at Boeing for 30 years. Maybe it's time to do something that I've been thinking about for a long time. I had this idea when I retired someday, way in the future, that I would start my own business and become a coach. And so Brandon's death really made me reconsider what that was. So there was a period of time where I was thinking about this and talking to people like, is this really time? It was a bit scary. But then I made a decision but I knew what I was kind of heading for. So I think maybe I had a short winter in that period of time, but I didn't get my business up and going for probably, a year and a half, 2 years later. So there was that maybe that's a winter. It was a little bit of floundering,
Yeah, sounds like you were
trying
going
this,
through the winter of figuring it
yeah,
out.
figuring it
Something's
out.
ended. So my career's
Yes,
ended that I thought I was going to be at for a lot longer. I know
yes,
what I want to do, but I don't know all the specifics to make it
no.
happen.
Yes, I made the decision but didn't really have all the answers. So yeah, so it was a little bit of that. I guess maybe I was going deep,
Hmm.
about what do I really want. I had coaches at that time working through it all.
And
How
going
about
deep's
you?
super
Mm,
important in winter also,
mhm,
but and getting input from other people so you can consider different things.
mhm,
But one thing that often happens also is through peer pressure or the uncomfortableness that comes with just being and not
mhm.
doing in our society today. It can cause us to want to take action even if we haven't gone deep and figured out what that is. And
Yes,
that's something to avoid because and resist, even though you're getting peer pressure, because if you're not ready to make that change, then you may find yourself doing something that you'll end up reworking or will have
right,
been wasted effort. So
right.
it's really important to, like I said, look inwardly and go, hey, what am I experiencing right now? What's going on for me? And I'm very doing oriented person. And
Mhm,
so, in fact, I make to-do lists just so I can cross
mhm.
things off I've already done because I want to feel good about having done it. And so for me, it's about resisting the urge both internally but
Yeah.
also of other people saying, well, this is unlike you to not have tackled this already, or
Mhm,
what's going on with you, are you feeling okay? And to resist all that and
mhm,
say, I'm right where I need to be, and I need to
mhm,
be just being for right now.
mhm. Exactly.
So, and like you, I may feel a little bit rudderless or not knowing exactly
Mhm,
what's going to come out of it. And it really, it was about making myself okay with that and focusing on the things that I can focus on
mhm.
during that time. So embracing those feelings,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it's not easy though.
It's
I'm
not
thinking
easy.
you're having me reflect back at that time when I had left Boeing and starting this new business um there were a lot of starts and stops, because I'd try something and that wasn't exactly right. And I and it is society and our communities around us. They weren't I mean, in general, like, what are you doing, Susan? Are
What's
you,
next for you? What are you
yeah,
working on now?
yeah. Are you applying for jobs? What's happening, and so that is pressure, that is everybody's well-meaning, but it's when you're doing something out of the ordinary or not in line with what everybody else is doing, it's just a little
You
bit
can feel
different.
the pressure. So,
Yeah.
so let's give our listeners, like, what can they do about that?
Yeah.
What can you do when you're feeling you're in winter? Well,
Yeah.
first thing is slow down. Like we said, it's not easy, but slow
Hmm.
down and create that space for that deep reflection and what's coming up. Maybe journaling, if journaling's your thing, or reading or connecting with other people and asking, have you experienced this? What came up for you?
Hmm.
Whatever way it looks like that you can allow for these thoughts and ideas to surface, so you can figure out when you get to spring, what's that going to look like.
Right. Right. I like getting out and walking.
Mhm.
That is, that it gets my body moving and kind of clears my mind. So
Yeah.
I recommend that. It also helps you be more present. So
Yes.
especially if you can be out where you can see nature sometimes. I'm in the city, so I'm not don't see that much nature, but I guess in Seattle I have trees and mountains around me, so I can see that. So that's nice. But
Yeah. And if
anything.
it's hard for you to do that because you're experiencing full on actual winter geographically and physically, then find some other activity that helps you get centered, like Susan said, with walking in nature. I agree with her on the walking in nature. That's a number one thing.
Mhm.
But if that's not possible, that doesn't mean all is lost. You can find other activities that
Mhm.
really feed you
Mhm.
and contribute to what you're thinking and feeling. I find often, if I take a breath and I'm just open and I remind myself, just be open.
Mhm.
You never know what's going to come up or who you're going to meet or what you're going to hear that's going to spark something in you to go, oh, yeah, I need to ponder that a little bit more about what I
Mhm.
do. The other big thing in winter for me is self care.
Talk more about that. What do you do for self-care?
It varies. It really varies, and there's a wide variation of it. It's kind of whatever I'm feeling at the time. Sometimes it's working out, but specifically working on a certain thing. Like I may increase my yoga because it's more mindful, and so
Mhm.
it allows me to leave my brain in a place where it can
Mhm.
just see what comes up and be open. Or it may look like um I'm taking a couple days off from working out because I overdid it and I just need some rest. Or it may look like making time to have a good long conversation with one of my friends,
Yeah.
or a date night with my husband. It doesn't matter. Self care can look like anything, whatever's important to you
Yeah.
and relevant to you. But the point is doing it.
Right.
It can
Well,
be big,
mhm.
it can be small. It's just whatever's meaningful to you.
Yeah. I think what you're saying too, which I think is really important, is that it is something meaningful. It's allowing you the space and latitude to get what you need. And it could be nothing. You could be sitting there with nothing. And I think sometimes uh, I can get myself in a knot if I think I'm not doing self-care. I should be doing yoga.
Should.
I know, see, this is the thing. I should be taking a bath, damn it, and I should be having my glass of wine there, but and then I don't do it. And then I feel like, what's wrong with you, Susan? You didn't do your self-care. So I'm just beating myself up. I mean, that is not
The
self-care.
opposite. That's the
Yeah.
opposite of self-care.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, that so if should is the trigger word that we should
Yeah.
be listening for.
Oops, I'm sorry.
I
Oh
should
my
be
goodness.
doing this. Um, then we find
Mhm.
ourselves saying that, just
Yeah.
switch up the language.
Yeah.
I could be doing this. Is that what I want to do right now?
Yes.
No, I want to do
Is
this
that
instead.
helpful or not?
Yeah. And then you're doing self-care, right?
Yeah.
Because you're asking yourself, what do I need and how do I do this? Um, And I wanted to take a quick segue and tie this back to leadership. So we've been talking about what do people need to do as people for themselves. Well, guess what? Leaders are people. And taking care of ourselves, the self-care, the allowing time to just be and go deep that winter brings to us, um, allows us to transform as leaders also,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because if we're taking care of ourselves, then we're going to be better able to be there for the people that we lead and the
Mm-hmm.
organizations that we lead and the things we're responsible for. So another thing with leaders is sometimes they feel like they got to have every answer about every question all the time. You don't have to.
No,
You don't
it's
have to.
well, you
You
can't.
can take some time. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't. It's not even, it's
yeah,
impossible.
yes.
So taking the time in winter to focus on being, not doing, and as you're resting, reflecting, taking care of yourself, you're also renewing as a leader. So sometimes those thoughts that come into my brain when I'm just being and being open to opportunities is, oh, this would be really great. Let's dig deeper into this. Here's
Mm-hmm.
what I'd like to do with the team, or here's what I'd like to do with my client, or here's right. So things are going to come up for you, not just in one aspect of your life, but holistically, and pay
Yeah.
attention.
Yeah. I think it's a really good point, Debbie. As leaders, and we, are promoting excellence in leadership, it's it's not a nice to have. Leaders have a responsibility to take care of
Absolutely.
themselves, so they show up the best that they possibly can for their teams and their clients and for the communities which they lead. Um, it's not an option.
Yeah. So actually should really does apply in that case.
Yeah, it really is. It's a responsibility. I feel so
It's a
strong about
responsibility.
that because when we're depleted, we just cannot possibly show up as our best selves.
Absolutely. No, we can't.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And so maybe to kind of bring this home, I'd like Susan, you to share a story. You're realizing, about to realize a dream that came to you through maybe multiple winters. So why don't
yes,
you tell the listeners a little bit more about that?
yeah. So this is probably like 5 or 6 years ago. I started reflecting about what my values are and what's really important to me. And I'm very interested in my heritage and um, I started having this dream. Two of my top values are wonder and awe. And I thought, what would bring me wonder and awe? And I thought, I want to go live someplace else. I was born in Seattle, and here I am, 3 miles from where I grew up. And I really love adventure. And I've been to a lot of places, but I haven't actually stayed an extended time anywhere. So then I thought, well, I want to go to Ireland. I'm a lot Irish, and I want to do that. And so it starts in winter, in the physical winter, because I find that it's a temporal marking of the year. And for me, I just find it natural to look back on how did the past year go, and what do I want in the future. And so I've been doing that. And so I had this dream, okay, this is what I want to do. And I want to go to Ireland. And it started out, pretty fuzzy. And, but, why not? There's no reason why I couldn't do this. I had a pandemic in the middle of all of this and things
Yeah.
like that. But it's been getting more and more real. And so, which has been great. And I've been connecting with people and telling them my dream. I think that is the biggest positive I can share with somebody. If you have a dream, tell people, because people want to help and they have ideas. And so as it turns out now, So this spring, I am going to Ireland I'll be there for about 2 months. So that's pretty extended. And I hope it's just the start of going back multiple times.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. So there you have it. Susan allowed the time it took for this dream to fully come to
Yeah.
fruition, right? And now she's ready to go with it. But
Mm.
it starts as a very small glimmer, right?
Right.
Sometimes before the transformation, and transformation can take several cycles before
Yes.
it actually shows up at its full effect. But we'll be able to track throughout the year on this podcast how things are going for Susan in this dream. And this is in alignment also with our desire to share more of our own personal stories and leadership transformations. So there you have it for winter.
Mhm.
And we'll end with we have a playlist on Spotify for winter. We have them for multiple seasons, but if you'd like to give a listen to that and think about what songs to add, you can find us seasons_leadership on any of the places where you listen to that, but Spotify, you can find us there. So with that, Susan, any last words for our listeners today about winter?
Yeah, well, it's, get cozy, settle in, and transform.
And if you need more inspiration and advice, you can find us at www.seasonsleadership.com. Until next time. Thank you, listeners, for joining us today. We hope that you were inspired by this conversation.
And we invite you to join our community on Patreon. See the link below. There you will find more resources to help you on your leadership journey.
Make sure to join us next time for more conversation about leadership excellence.